Hey Patreon subscribers, what's going on? Jeff Mosher here. This is the first interactive mailbag that I'm doing for all of my Patreon subscribers. So the first thing I want to say is thank you for being a subscriber. Thank you for your patronage, and I hope you're enjoying all the Eagles content that I'm trying to give you. This is a new thing that I'm starting this week, and I hope to do for the remainder of the Eagles football season, and then obviously into the off season, where you send me questions through Patreon, through messaging, and I will get back to you through this mailbag. And I'll take your questions, I'll answer them the best I can, and we'll try to do this weekly throughout the season. So I'm going to start it off. I had some great questions, so thanks for everybody who did send me questions in. And we're going to start off with one from Big Daddy Kane, one of my favorites from back in the day. His question is Avonte Maddox, better suited for the slot or for the outside? Well, Avonte Maddox is about 5'8", 5'9", 180 pounds. When they drafted him knowing he was most likely going to be a nickel corner or a slot corner and play the inside. The NFL is a league of 6'3", 6'4" receivers, guys like Mike Evans, Corey Davis, as you saw, who caught the touchdown against Maddox in that Titans game. So they always envisioned him playing on the inside. Now, right now, his role is that dime safety role that Corey Graham used to play, with Corey Graham now filling in for Rodney McLeod. It sounds like Jim Schwartz is committed to keeping him there, which I think can be a good idea. Even though Maddox has not played safety, this is way more of a passing league. He can come in and be a dime safety because that's more of a center field coverage type of responsibility. He doesn't have to go in the box and make a lot of tackles, although he is a pretty tough, physically gifted player. But that is going to be his role right now, seemingly for the rest of the year. It may change depending on what goes on the outside with Jalen Mills and Sidney Jones, but right now I think you're going to see Avonte Maddox in that dime safety role. If it changes where he does come in and play the slot and they move Sidney Jones to the outside, and then who knows what happens with Jalen Mills, I would say that the look for DeAndre Hall, a guy that they acquired right after the cutdown day from the waivers. They signed him off waivers. He's played for the Chiefs. He's played for the Bears. He is a safety with a cornerback pedigree. So he is kind of like that person you would want playing safety, but in that coverage role, in that deep center field role. So that's a guy who I think would get more time if things changed for Avonte Maddox. Our next question comes from Christian B. He asked about the Vikings game. Will the Eagles use more screens, more quick slants to neutralize the Vikings pass rush and kind of ease up on an offensive line for the Eagles that wasn't very good against the Titans? I actually don't think that they're going to do that a whole lot. The screen game, especially without Darren Sproles if he doesn't play. The quick slant game, maybe. I would say more of an RPO thing than design quick slants. You have to remember, these Vikings linebackers, Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks, they're really good moving laterally. They cover a lot of space across the middle. However, they do like to blitz a lot, especially through the A-gap, so that does leave the center field open. But I would see the RPO game happening a little bit more than, say, the design quick slant, because those linebackers cover a lot. If anything, and when I've watched tape on the Vikings, we know that Anthony Barr is much better going forward than he is going backward, and I mean deep backward. So if Doug can come up with some schemes that gets Anthony Barr isolated on either an inside receiver or a running back down the field, it's going to be trouble for him. You saw that in the Rams game. They got Sean McVay got Todd Gurley isolated against Anthony Barr. He got Cooper Kupp isolated a lot on Anthony Barr, and even Robert Woods. Inside receivers and running backs can capitalize on Barr's lack of downfield coverage. He's not very good at it. Next question comes from Christopher W. He says, I love the blog, but what's wrong with Lane Johnson? Thank you. I'm glad you're liking the blog. As far as Lane Johnson, I did check into it because after last game, I was really surprised on how many basic four-man rushes he got beat on. He got beat on a couple of them. One where Derek Morgan just sped around the corner and sack stripped Carson Wentz, and that was very atypical of what you normally see from Lane Johnson. I checked into it. A source close to him just said, "Hey man, it was a bad game for him. He's not hurt." That was the biggest thing I wanted to check into because Jason Peters is struggling on the left side with a quad injury that has absolutely taken away some of his impact, not made him his normal self. But Lane isn't hurt. As if someone told to me, it was just a bad day at the office, and hopefully he will respond from that because that is not characteristic of how Lane Johnson normally plays. Next question from Janine J, good old AJ, one of my loyal listeners from back when I was working at the Fanatic. Will Corey Clement be active? Now, Clement missed practice on Wednesday, missed practice on Thursday. Same reason. It's the quad injury that kept him out of the Titans game. He did play against the Colts where he was nursing that quad injury, and I thought he played well. It'll be big to see if he practices Friday. Regardless, I got the sense that he will, and that they kept him out against the Titans, knowing that they had both the Vikings game and the Giants game on Thursday night, 2 games in a 4 or 5 day span. So they just wanted to make sure he's 100%. I have a feeling Clement will play, but we'll know more late Friday afternoon and see if he was able to at least get 1 practice in. Even if he doesn't, I wouldn't put it against Doug to put him out there. I think that they're just giving him as much time to get that quad injury as healed as it possibly could be, knowing that they have a short turnaround from the Vikings to the Giants game. Last question comes from Frank G, and he asks, the NFL Network says that the Eagles are going to lose their next 4 games. That's Vikings, Giants, Panthers, and Jaguars. Do you agree? No, I don't think the sky is falling. I will not think the sky is falling even if they lose to the Vikings, although I will be concerned about how good of a team they're going to be if they fall to 2-3. But to think that the Eagles are going to lose their next 4 games, Vikings, Giants, at Panthers, and then the Jaguars in London, no, I can't see that happening. I don't think they're a bad team. I think they're going through some adversity early on here, and they're finding their way, but I certainly wouldn't call it an 0-4 in their next 4 games. That would be shocking to me. All right, that's going to do it for this week's mailbag. We will do it again next week on Friday, so send me your questions as they come up. It could be even before the game. It could be right after the game. I will pick some of the best ones and continue to answer them. Again, please tell everybody you know about my Patreon page. Spread the word. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by next week. I'm over 80. As soon as I get 100, I can make a donation, as I promised I would do, to the Wounded Warrior Project. And let's get this thing rolling. I thank you for your patronage. Make sure you also check out my Inside the Birds podcast with Adam Kaplan, Billy Osborne. Just go to radio.com, do a search for Go Birds, because we are part of the Go Birds network that's affiliated with WIP. You do a search on Go Birds, find the Inside the Birds podcast, and please subscribe. All right, everybody. Talk to you again next week. Bye.